Hi, everyone. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, The After, the podcast for caregivers who have survived the hardest chapter of their lives and are now gathering both the courage and the strength to write the next one. This wasn't the episode I had planned for today, but sometimes something happens that just redirects you, inspires you differently. A serendipitous change of focus. And this did. Yesterday was the celebration of life for my friend and colleague, Dr. Greg Hinson. I had worked with Greg for only 4 years, but I instantly loved him. His brilliance, his kindness, his amazing sense of humor. He passed away completely unexpectedly about 2.5 months ago. He was only 60. I wasn't able to travel to attend his celebration of life yesterday, but I was so incredibly grateful for the opportunity to participate via live stream. As you can imagine, it was both heartbreaking and heartwarming to hear all the amazing tributes and revelations about Greg. You know, those things you never knew about somebody that are absolutely awe-inspiring, and you wish you had known and had the opportunity to experience firsthand. There were so many of those moments throughout this service. But one that really moved me was during his little sister Beth's tribute. She shared that his favorite book, his absolute favorite book, was The Velveteen Rabbit, and how it was so poignant for his life. And she didn't just talk about it. She had copies of the book to hand out to every person who attended the service. And that just struck the core of my heart. Something so meaningful and loving, and what an incredible way to remember him. And in that moment, I thought, I've never read it. So later, I found it and listened to it on Audible. A short 24-minute listen. And I understand now. It's not a children's story. It's a story about what love does to you. It's about what happens when you are chosen and you give yourself fully in return. There's a line in the book where the skin horse explains what it means to become real. And he says it doesn't happen all at once. It happens when someone loves you for a long, long time. Not just to play with you, but really loves you. And while listening to this story, I thought, this can apply to caregiving and life after caregiving too. This is what so many of us have lived. Because when you care for someone, through illness, through decline, through the hardest parts of life, you don't just show up once. You show up over and over and over again. Even when you are tired, even when you feel worn, caregiving changes you. And not in ways that are always visible to other people. But something in you shifts. Your nervous system changes. Your identity changes. Your entire way of being in the world changes. For your person. For love. And this book says it honestly. That by the time you become real, your fur is worn off. Your eyes are loose. You're not as beautiful as you once were. And yet, you are real. And we see that in our loved ones as they decline in front of us. They are real. They have lived a lifetime. And caregivers understand that. And then the story takes another turn. Because the rabbit, after becoming real through love, is no longer needed in the same way. And that part, the after, that's the part we don't discuss enough. Because what happens when the role that made you real ends? What happens when the person you gave everything to is no longer there? Or no longer needs you? Or the life you built around that love disappears? The book doesn't skip over that. It lets the rabbit feel it. The confusion, the loss, the sense of being discarded. And if you live through caregiving, you know exactly what that feels like. Because the world doesn't always recognize what you just came through. It doesn't pause. It doesn't say, wait a second. This person just gave years of their life, their energy, their identity, their body and their heart. It just moves on. And you're left standing there thinking, who am I now? And that's why this story is staying with me. Because it doesn't end there. There's a moment, almost easy to miss, where the rabbit's grief becomes a doorway to something else. Not a return to what was, but a transformation into something new. And I think that's the part Greg must have understood. That being real isn't about staying the same. It's not about holding on to the version of yourself that existed before the love, or even during it. It's about allowing what you went through, what you gave, what you survived, to change you into someone who can still live forward. Not untouched, not unscarred, but not finished either. That's where this connects to what I was originally going to talk about today. This idea that there can be something meaningful, even in goodbye. Not because the loss is good, not because the ending is what we would have chosen, but because of what the love did to us, what it made of us. And that doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear when the role ends. It doesn't disappear when the person is gone. It stays in who you are, in how you show up, in how deeply you know how to love. And maybe that's the quiet truth underneath all of this. That becoming real was never the tragedy. Losing the role, losing the person, that's where the pain is. But becoming real, that's the part that lasts. I think about Greg's sister, Beth, handing out those books. She wasn't just giving away a story. She was giving us a map of her brother's heart. She was showing us that Greg was real because of how he loved and how he let life, and all of us, change him. So if you're sitting there today, feeling a little worn, a little shabby, or wondering where you fit now that your person is gone, or your role is over, look in the mirror. Your fur might be a bit thin. Your seams might be showing. But you are real. And the love that made you that way, It hasn't gone anywhere. It's written into the very fabric of who you are now. You aren't being discarded. You are being transformed for whatever comes next. I'm Thérèse, and this is New York Girl Again, the after. Thank you for staying with me as I lean into these serendipitous detours, and for helping me honor my incredible friend, Greg Hinson. Until next time, keep writing your next chapter.